Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Welcome, everybody, to the Friends in Recovery podcast with Jersey Ed. I'm your host, guys, Jersey Ed, reading from a script, along with my co-host, Buckeye, Bambi, and Super Beth. What's up, ladies?
My hair. That's
Your
it.
hair. Man, I have a problem with my hair, too. So I see Dave has almost the same hair that I have. We get up in the morning, it gets a little weird on us. So yeah, exactly. But I'll introduce Dave in a second. He will be our guest today. I'll let you know where he's from. I'm going to keep you guys wondering who he is. Bambi, Buckeye Bambi, you and I have to talk.
Oh no.
All right.
We talk all the time, Ed.
I know, but this is serious. We have to talk about Super Beth right now.
Oh,
right in front of her.
The name?
Yes.
I did put in the show notes last week that it was a question whether we were changing her name or not.
Well, that's what I want to ask everybody. Do we change her name to Basement Beth? I like that much better than Super. First of all, it fits you, Beth, okay? Because when you can hobble down the steps, you're there, right?
True story.
Okay. And I know you're Super Beth. We all know that. I mean, come on. So we want to take a poll, guys. We want to know if Beth is going to be Super Beth or Basement Beth.
I love this idea.
I think Beth wants to know too.
Yeah, Beth wants to know. Exactly. So, well, if you want to give us a call and cast your vote, you give us a call at 800-989-6504. That is our podcast hotline for non-emergency calls. If you want to find out about what we do here, if you just want to talk to somebody, that's the number to call. You can email us your answer for Basement Beth or Super Beth at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com, or right below here, you see these names, these email addresses. They will that you can even email Beth, right? And just read that right in front of her. There it is, right? Okay. Read that email address and make sure that you vote. Not on the website. The website is friendsandrecoverycommunity.org, because we don't know how to use the website to do shit like that, guys. We have a really nice website.
You really do.
Don't know how to use it. Like, there's no update. I was just on it before, right? I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna rant on something. Give me a second, okay? Sorry, Dave, you're gonna have to listen to this. But we have this beautiful website, right? We have a place where you go to see all of our current stuff, what we're doing. We have meeting lists, and none of it's updated. The meeting lists are, but there's no adventures in there. There's nothing going on. Because you know why, Bambi? Because none of us know jack shit about the fucking website, number one. And number two, we haven't been asking for a podcast intern for the last months. So I'm begging you, please, somebody, I need a podcast intern, because we don't know anything about websites. So if you know anything about websites, call that number, and we will we'll be more than happy to have you on staff with us and not paying you, because it's a whole volunteer position. And wait, hold on. The phone's ringing. Wait, hold on. It's ringing like crazy, guys. Anyway, so that's my rant for today. Back to the show. Let's see. Purple hearts, guys.
Purple hearts.
No purple hearts this week.
Enough said.
So what we do is I see, oh, wow, Beth, Sean gave you orange.
Thank you,
heart.
Sean. Thank you, Sean.
Yes. Sean gave you orange hearts. So,
and she's got a vote for Basement Beth.
Oh, a boat. Oh, two. Oh, what? This is the Beth show now? Come on, guys. What's going on here?
Hey, I've been saving off all the attention from all the others.
That's it.
You had to go break your leg in multiple places to get some attention, Beth.
Exactly.
Now, come on.
Listen, I'm willing to go to any lengths.
Dave,
I went to jail. I didn't get that much attention.
That's true. If you're scratching your head, what's going on here? Each week we ask if you could see our hearts here, we ask just to give in the comments below, give us the hearts that, and that your favorite podcast host. So Bambi is purple, Beth is orange, Jersey Ed is blue. And what color hearts would you want for this show, Dave?
How about Carolina blue?
Carolina blue. There you go.
Ooh,
There you go. Carolina blue for Dave. I don't know where that's at, but find a blue in there, guys, and send him a Carolina blue heart.
I know about Carolina blue.
I don't. Isn't that indigo? Is that indigo?
It's the color of my shirt.
Is it? Blue. Okay. Yeah, it's indigo, I believe, because there's indigo. That's the big thing down here in South Carolina.
Indigo is dark.
Is it?
Yeah, indigo is super dark. Carolina blue is like North purple. Carolina.
What does North Carolina look like?
North Carolina blue for like their basketball.
Yeah,
Tar Heels. Thank you.
Okay.
I lived there.
My best friend is a Duke lover, though. So,
Then you know what? I'm a Georgia Bulldog. I'll take red. It's good. It's all good. I'm easy.
Dave thought he was going to come on and talk about his sober at home stuff. Come on,
little
Dave.
Did he know?
Got to get through our silliness first.
That's it. I'd like to thank all the donors who made this show possible, guys. Without you, we cannot do this, right? Thank you so much. To make a donation, go to friendsandrecoverycommunity.org. Also, if you want to find out about the Fire Network, go to the same website, scroll through and look for the Friends in Recovery, or look for the Fire Network and join our Fire Network. If you have a podcast or you're creator of something on something, whatever, just go to the website or email Carl from Soberpod, info@soberpod.com, and he'll tell you all about it. Don't even ask me about it. So anyways, today's guest, as you guys can see, is Dave Gerber, owner of Sober at Home. Dave, we will get back to you in a moment. We still have to be silly a little bit here, so stay tuned for some amazing recovery when Dave comes on, because God knows we're not supplying that right now.
Yeah.
Here's my favorite part of the show, ladies, is the sober shout outs. I like going around the room and just asking everybody for sober shout outs, because we work hard in our recovery, and so does everybody else. And I think people should be recognized on here, hands down, 100%. To all 4 viewers, we should have going out is sober shout out. So I know Bambi has a few sober shout outs, Bambi.
I have 2. I have 2 really important ones. So not that they're not all important. They are all important, but 2 of our friends in recovery. The first one is Ann F., and she is my sponsee. And she has 1 year today.
And March 1st is when we're recording. So Ann,
March 1st, the day we record. And then another friend in recovery, Billie A., has 2 years on March 2nd.
Billie, and isn't she going to host a meeting for us soon?
She is going to host on Fridays.
All right. Congratulations. Beth, any sober shout outs?
So I got actually 2. So I want to send a shout out to my friend Kim. Today is her birthday, March 1st.
What's up, Kim?
And also to my friend
Happy
Sean.
Birthday,
Sean. He gave me a call this morning, and I get to see him tomorrow morning. So I'm very excited.
Who, Sean E?
Yeah.
And he gave you hearts.
And he gave you hearts. I know. I love Sean E. He's amazing.
He's a good guy.
I spent a weekend with Sean a couple of weeks ago.
He did the polar plunge. Is that what you called it?
He did. Yeah, it was the cold bath, the ice bath. Yes. He went camping with us. So we did leave our clothes on, I promise. It was too cold. I told you the show was going to go bad. A quick social media update. Don't forget, we have twice daily AA meetings on Zoom. You can find them at our website, friendsandrecovery.org. Click on the meetings and click on the day you want to go. Click on the meeting and you'll go in. What else do we have? Look for all of us, all our social media, Friends in Recovery communities. Just search for that. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment below, because we want to see some hearts. And a 5-star review, which nobody gives anymore. I think I'm just going to cross that off because nobody gives us a 5 review. I mean, come on. I mean, give us a 5-star review.
You can give a 5-star review on other platforms, but YouTube doesn't have the 5-star. But like on the other platforms, it is 5-star.
But nobody gives us a 5-star review. Nobody.
Do you
Zero.
check the other media sources or just YouTube?
No, I just check YouTube. All right, hold on. Let me erase that. Give us a 5-star review, everybody. All right, guys. So Bambi and Beth and Dave, you know what time it is.
Question of the week.
Question of the
week, guys. There it is. Question of the week. So the question of the week this week, everybody, and Dave, we would like you to chime in if you'd like. If not, you can just tell us to pass or whatever you guys use in New York for language. That's up to you. The question of the week is, which do you listen to the most, your heart or your brain? Which do you listen to the most, your heart or your brain, guys? And I'm going to ask Beth first.
Oh, 100% my heart. Always my heart. I've got so much trouble for it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Your heart. Yeah. Okay. You're a heart girl. Absolutely. I can tell that. Right. I mean, come on, let's be serious. Dave, our guest, which should you listen to most, your heart or your head?
I think mostly my head. I'm a brain guy.
I could pick that out too. Look at all those books he has back there. Would you read them just in about 10 minutes ago?
You can't see them. They're mostly kids' books.
Doesn't matter. You look smart. So
yeah.
Yeah. So we got a brain, we got a heart. Bambi.
Well, when you picked this question, I immediately thought, oh, you're a heart person. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, you're not. I'm sitting here with my brother's. He's going through some health issues. And I am such a nurse at heart. I'm analyzing everything. So, I mean, I'm treating him like a patient. So no, I'm a head person. My brain.
Yeah, I think, Bam, I think you could go either way because as tough as you think you are, you're a softie. Seriously.
I am. That's why I said it was.
You are.
I vacillated back and forth.
Yeah, I think you're one of you're back and forth. You're both. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Definitely. Yeah. So guys, I don't think with either. No, I'm just kidding.
What do you think with, Ed?
Ask my wife.
Watch, YouTube will kick us off.
Oh, will they?
Yeah.
See, I told you I can't say those kind of words on here. Just kidding, everybody. Just kidding. I think with my heart too. I wear my heart out of my sleeve, and I'm a crybaby. I'm a softie. I'm a dad of 5 children and 9 grandchildren. I gotta freaking lead with my heart. So there it is. So we have a little split there, and let's hear what you guys want. Comment below. Let us know if you listen with your head or your heart. Carl, we know what you listen with. So my sober shout out, guys. Oh, my sober shout out real quick was to Carl and Chelsea, right? Carl and Chelsea.
Of course.
For Soberpod. Yeah.
I just keep them in the notes, copy and paste.
Yes. Soberpod. So yes, we're very organized here, Dave. So anyways, so that is it for all the craziness that we do. I'd like to introduce my guest, Dave Gerber, the owner of Sober at Home. I know a couple people that have asked you, who's recommended to come on our show, and Bambi set all this up, and I'm really interested to hear on what Sober at Home does, maybe a little bit about how you've brought it together, and I know we have some topics that we can touch on too, and it's your show, Dave. Have at it.
Well, thanks for having me. And I've been in the field of addictions treatment for over 30 years, and 30 years ago we were helping people get sober. We were helping people to find meaningful and purposeful lives through sobriety. Mm-hmm. And over the years, I've run programs at every level of care, from inpatient, outpatient, jail-based programs. And, I saw the field changing, and, my heart, my commitments, thinking from the heart, right? I'm a brain guy, but my passion has always been about helping people find their way to, purposeful lives. And so I'm in the shower one day, and all of a sudden the term just Sober at Home just popped in my head.
Wow.
And it was an idea that I just started to run with. And I said, I still want to find a way to help people get sober.
Mm-hmm.
And while a lot of the world is changing and it has its place, harm reduction and getting people to, not die is a good thing. But, Senator Patrick Kennedy once said, meet people where they're at, but don't leave them there.
Ooh,
And
I like that.
and I just really wanted to find a place where we can continue the work of helping people to get sober. So we created a team. It's a family business, really. It's
okay.
My wife is our communications specialist, and she does website and communications. My brother is our chief financial officer. One of my sons is, interning with us and helping us with stuff behind the scenes. And basically what we are is an online platform that can reach people across the country. And it kind of reverses the way that the traditional treatment program works. If you need treatment, specifically outpatient treatment, you got to figure out how to make your schedule work around that treatment program.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've done at Sober at Home is we've created a schedule with groups that start at 6:30 in the morning and they go till midnight.
Oh my God.
And so you get to decide, if you're a working mom and, you want to make sure that, you get your help and your support before you leave for work in the morning or after you put down the kids at night. We have groups to help people almost on demand 7 days a week. And so that's one of the big differences about Sober at Home is how we offer groups at all times of day, 7 days a week with access to care 7 days a week.
Yeah. And I was, okay, I'm sorry. No. I was going through your website and that was one of the questions. The groups at any time, is that kind of how that goes? Because I was looking through it and I just didn't quite, I guess I would have to fill out your extensive questionnaire, which I'm impressed with, I guess to find out a little bit more, but can you talk a little bit more about the groups and how that works and individual, like the kind of nuts and bolts of your program, because you've been around a while. It sounds like I've been around a while in this field. Beth has been doing this for a long time. We know you go to a place, you go to a building, you check into an IOP or you go to detox and then you get your individual therapist and boom, you're done. Sober at Home is not normal. You know what I mean? It's not normal yet. You know what I mean? Hopefully soon it will be, because I like the idea. It gives people different kind of avenues to do this. But my concern is, how do you do the groups? And that's my first question.
So, and that's the next best thing about Sober at Home is we haven't forgotten about the importance of group work. I believe that the journey of addiction, and maybe you guys are familiar with this, I like to call it the ever increasingly shrinking world of addiction. That as our use progresses, our world tends to shrink, right? And we start to give up people, places, things in deference to our drug of choice, right? And part of our goal in treatment and recovery is to find a way to be connected and to expand that world back out. A lot of the, COVID moving forward, what we've realized is that people don't have to leave the house to get a lot of the services that they need. But the vast majority of telehealth kind of programs are one-on-one. And we believe in the power of groups. We believe in the power of getting people connected. So, there's two different types of groups, and I don't want to bore you with the details, but let's just say you're in early recovery and you need, some intensive care. You can sign up for a package that gives you access to 3 closed groups a week based on your schedule. So we may have a group going Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday at 2 p.m. And those are going to be your closed groups. And you're going to go through that program with the same people who started. But guess what? Now it's Sunday. And now you're having urges and you're having cravings and you're having temptations and you're struggling and you want support. Well, we have open groups that are open and available to people who just need them in their time of need. So that's how the groups work. We have group therapy type groups, and we have educational lecture type groups with, evidence-based practices like cognitive behavioral therapy, I personally am a big believer in encouragement. You probably can't read the sign behind me, but it says people need encouragement like plants need water. The ones who need it the most are the ones who get it the least. And all of the people that walk through the doors into treatment and recovery, I believe, are discouraged. And it's part of our job to be sources of encouragement to them.
Yeah. And you know what, Dave, I like to kind of go off of that, the groups and everything. When I heard Sober at Home, like, oh, I hope it's I think it sounded like to me, it was like an individual therapist that comes to your house, blah, blah, blah. That is refreshing to know that there are lots of groups, because to me, and ladies, just, if you chime in here, but to me, groups saved my life for a couple of reasons. Number one, I felt part of something. Number one, I didn't have to just sit in a room with somebody and tell them my deepest, darkest secrets. And are they staring back at me? Number two, in a group, I hear people's deepest, darkest secrets sometimes. So I know I'm in the right room. And number three, everybody in this room is just like me. I'm not sitting across from a therapist, kind of analyzing me and I give me a group any day, hands down any day. Of course, I do my one-on-one with my therapist, but I would take a group 10 times a day over, in one-on-one individual therapist. I think it really works because I know I can identify with that. Ladies, anything about
how does that work? I love the model. Like, how does that work? Does it work with insurance? Is it self-pay?
Yeah. So great question. We are a self-pay model, and there's a reason why we're not taking insurance. There's a reason why we're not licensed by New York State. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been helping people for 30 years. And now we have people saying, you have to do this, or you have an insurance company saying, you've got to, what is medically necessary. And so they tell you can only do treatment or for this long a period of time. Sober at Home is something that is in many ways very much self-directed, and you can decide how long you want to be in care for. But self-pay. So how much is it? Think of it as like a gym membership, right? Let's say you go to a gym and you're paying $100 a month to go to the gym. If you go to the gym once, then you know that each session costs you $100. If you go to the gym twice, well, now it costs you $50 per session. Sober at Home essentially works in a similar way, where if you make full use of our program and you're going and accessing services as much as 7 days a week, then our groups are as little as $20 a session.
Wow.
So it's really not that expensive.
So there's not a cap on like 3 days of IOP, 3 days a week, PHP 5 days a week. There's not a cap on that.
Well, our most intensive program is built out as a 5-week, 3-time-a-week closed group program with access to our open groups, up to 7 days a week. And there are step downs. So you complete that and you can move down to a phase 2, and now it's 6 times a week. We have month to month, if you're just looking for some open group support. All of our groups are run by licensed professionals from around the country, familiar with addictions. The other thing that you didn't mention, Ed, the benefit of group is, that differs in individual therapy is we call people on their stuff, right? It's not just connecting, but also when we hear the BS and we say, I have to go to my my brother's cousin's sister's uncle's wedding, they need me there, and I say, wait a minute, are you telling me that the wedding would be called off if you didn't go? Well, no. Well, what happened at the last wedding you went to? Well, they were doing lines of Coke in the bathroom. So, while you're in a group and you're telling people, I need to do this, right? You have all those people there to provide you with feedback to say, I don't know if that's true or not, so that's an important aspect. We also have a workbook with over 90 exercises that I've written throughout the years of lectures that I've done, where people can do that self-reflective, introspective work for different phases, depending on where people are at in recovery.
Now let's talk about some of the people that come. I mean, obviously you're not gonna tell the people that come in, but I want to know, like, are you okay with MAT? Do you have people who are kind of using on the fence about things? Are they like, what's your clientele? Is it somebody that wants to come on and curious? and then they pay the money and they're still using. Can you give us kind of a oversight on that?
Let's be clear. Our goal is sobriety, and our goal is recovery.
Yeah.
And part of the challenges that I think we're facing as a field right now is recovery looks like a moving goalpost. Harm reduction, the same. Right now there's a debate in the harm reduction world about should we be providing people with higher doses of Narcan to address the new drugs that are out on the street, and people are saying, but if they don't need it, that puts people in precipitous withdrawal. Sober at Home is really recovery oriented, recovery focused. Our goal is to help you to restore yourself to a meaningful and purposeful life. Mm-hmm. That being said, we have programs that are designed for people that, are still, maybe yesterday was their last use. We have programs designed for people who have 3 months sober, 6 months sober, a year sober. So we have programs built out to service anybody in any of those needs. We don't preclude anyone from being on MAT, and we don't take a stance and say, you must or you can't be on MAT. What we want to make sure is that, if you're on MAT, you're doing it the right way, in a way that is moving you towards being in recovery and not keeping you, engaged in a lifestyle of existence. So we are not a medical program. We are not a replacement for inpatient detox or, medically supervised inpatient rehab programs. However, that being said, we might be a program that someone might go to before they come to needing that program, or we might be the perfect program for someone coming out of one of those inpatient programs that, guess what? They do have jobs that they want to go back to. And they don't necessarily want to go to a brick and mortar place where, there may be stigma associated with going to those programs, or, some of you guys are familiar, and maybe some of your listeners are familiar with, what's going on at a lot of these outpatient programs where there are people in active addiction, or there are people selling drugs outside of these facilities. And, it's not necessarily conducive to someone who really wants to be sober. These aren't necessarily conducive environments to someone who wants to get sober.
Yeah.
So Dave, do you have people like on your staff as far as like for the medical part of it? So if someone, like when I was trying to get sober at home by myself, but I realized I needed to go through that detox process first. Is there someone that would at least guide them to say, hey, let's try to get you into a detox first, and then we can start your program? Or
yeah, I mean, it's the challenge when you're a national program and not a local program. If I get somebody calling me from Boise, Idaho, they're like, I need detox. I might not be the best, purveyor of knowledge for the Boise, Idaho area. But we do have links to different sites on our resources page that can help people get connected to those levels of care. But we do not claim to provide medical services.
Okay. Oh, do you have a like your therapists, are they licensed, or is this like a peer-to-peer type program?
No, all of our staff are licensed, either addictions counselors, mental health counselors, social workers, but all who have experience in working with people with addiction.
Okay.
And we have people from New York to Louisiana.
Okay. All right. I want to go back to something you said in your last conversation. I want to talk about harm reduction. And we hit on it a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. Harm reduction isn't my thing, right? It's not what I do. I'm abstinence. But who am I to say what you want or what you want or what you can do, where you're at in your recovery. I'm not that person to do that. I can take care of me. I don't want to point the finger at you and say you can't, do harm reduction. And I think harm reduction, because of what's going on in this world in the last, 5 to 7 years that all this shit came down, maybe 10 years now. I think harm reduction is wonderful. I really do. And I think more and more treatment centers, more and more therapists, we should be talking about this a lot more. And I know you just kind of spoke about it a little bit more, but so you're okay with somebody on methadone or somebody that is using, Suboxone. Now I'm guessing it's because of, they have to be by a doctor, or they have to be seen, the proper channels. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and about that piece?
Yeah, I mean, if you are on a medication assisted therapy and you are committed to a program of sobriety, and you are working towards becoming that fully functional individual, then I agree with you 100%. Who is anybody to judge? My bigger concern with harm reduction is that line I gave you from Senator Kennedy, right? We're really good at meeting people where they're at, but if we're only allowing people to survive and avoid death, there's a journal article that came out recently that said only 25% of people that are using Suboxone or buprenorphine are misusing it. Right, I want you to think about that for a second, right? Let's just, I think the number is probably higher, because I know that, having worked in, a variety of settings, and when I asked my population, how many of you were on Suboxone and how many of you that were on Suboxone abused it, that number is closer to 80 to 90%, right?
Wow.
So, but let's just assume for a second that only 25% are abusing it. Now we're also looking at, and again, we talk about these moving goalposts, saying, well, doctors have to have these waivers. They have to sign up. We want to eliminate these barriers. So we want all doctors to be able to prescribe Suboxone. Well, do you think that might help increase the number of people that might be potentially misusing it? Because the people that are misusing it are not only getting high, but they're selling it. They're selling it on the streets for heroin. So if you're using it appropriately, terrific. I'm in favor. I'm a much bigger fan of injectables, right, that aren't going to be sold. And, there are three primary medication assisted therapies. You've got methadone. Okay. And, methadone is still considered by many the gold standard of medication assisted therapies. Where else in life, methadone was created in the 1950s. Where else in life do we say, that thing we created in the 1950s needs no improvements? That's the gold standard, right? And
I believe methadones were created for pain management and not opiate use, opiate control, whatever it is. Yeah.
So
if I'm not mistaken.
But let's also take a look at the potency, right? Everything starts out by being compared to morphine. Heroin is 3 to 5 times more potent than morphine. Methadone is also 3 to 5 times more potent than morphine, but because it's a medication, and if we take it as prescribed, it reduces risks of communicable disease, reduces risk of overdose. It's predictable. Buprenorphine, Suboxone, is up to 40 times more powerful than morphine.
Wow.
So it is a really powerful drug that we're giving people. And so when people do misuse it, it's potentially dangerous. And, when Sober at Home is all about helping people, and what the government and what the drug manufacturers are doing is they're saying, as long as people are on these medications, in New York State, they say, if they're not attending treatment and your doctor's prescribing them Suboxone, just keep prescribing. To me, that's dangerous. To me, that's unethical. And to me, that's not really helping people. The one drug that we don't talk about a lot in harm reduction is Vivitrol. And I'm really puzzled as to why we don't talk about Vivitrol more. And if you're not familiar with Vivitrol, Vivitrol is an opiate blocker. So it blocks opiate receptors and prevents people from getting high. And so if you take it in its injectable form, it gives you 30 days of blockage protection, where getting high is useless, because you're not going to get high unless you're really trying to push through an overdose, right? And what it requires is for you to be abstinent for a few days, for you to be able to go into a detox or go into a rehab and get on that drug. But we don't talk about that because the people that are in the harm reduction movement are utilizing their compassion towards people to say, if you want to keep using drugs, if you want to keep hurting yourself, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not okay with people existing in life.
And I agree with you on that 100%. Vivitrol is definitely underused. I mean, I know it's bigger and bigger out there, but a couple things that I'm thinking of: you don't have to go every day. You don't have to pay your money every day or every week or whatever it is. You get one shot and you're done. Then you go see the doc again. These especially methadone, it's big money. It's definitely big money, and I'm not saying that every company out there is doing that. Like you said, there's no education in it. Like let's look at methadone. Methadone on a long-term basis can be very harmful to your body. Nobody's talking about that. I'll go on methadone. My thoughts, and that's fine. I mean, great, go on methadone, go on Suboxone. But my thoughts about all this is harm reduction is great. Do it. But let's have something in place. If you're going to see a doctor for Suboxone or methadone, there has to be an end goal. There has to be a plan put in place. There has to be a therapist. There has to be, somebody watching the gate. You know what I mean? And then have that end goal.
Some sort of help and support, right?
Yeah.
We use Narcan, and Narcan has saved tens of thousands of lives, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But did you know that about 10% of the people that are revived from a Narcan overdose are dead within a year?
Oof.
Do you know that 50% of those 10% of people that die within a year die within a month? Right? And so what are we doing to help people beyond Narcan? What are we helping to do to help people beyond existence? A New York Times article came out, I believe it was last week, talking about a harm reduction clinic, excuse me, in New York City. And again, I don't fault them for their care and compassion for their hearts. But when you're meeting with, excuse me, a pregnant woman who's living on the streets, who is using every day, and you're providing her with clothing, excuse me, food, new socks, right? And we're and gently saying, maybe you want to think about getting some help because you have an unborn baby, right? Are we helping these people, or are
enabling them?
Enabling, and are we delaying consequences and delaying death so that we can make our overdose statistics look better today? And I want to help people get sober.
And that is a great concept. So Sober at Home is good with this MAT program. Then if you're on MAT, you're okay to come to Sober at Home. Absolutely. Good. Yeah. Good. That's again, that's not for me, but again, who am I to say that? I believe that a more and more programs should be MAT friendly. I want to talk about something else that I think now. I'm not a fan of it. I never smoked pot. I never did anything with pot. I was not a huge pot guy. But what's your thoughts on using pot? The legalization of pot. I know New York, right, is now legalized. New Jersey now, Massachusetts. All these states are after Colorado went and seen all the money going. Why not? Let's make some money. That's number one. Number two, my thoughts again. Pot is much easier on the body. I may not be just as on the brain, but there's a lot of good uses for marijuana, like for anxiety, for
medical reasons.
All medical reasons. Yeah. If people with cancer, they smoke pot to eat, and this is Bambi's wheelhouse here because she's the nurse in the bunch. But what's your thoughts on all that?
All right, let's get ready to rumble. First of all, we talk about marijuana like it's this all natural herb. And the reality is that the legal marijuana that's being consumed today is nothing like the marijuana that people were using and consuming back in the 1960s and the 1970s. The average level of THC, the substance that gets you high in marijuana back in the 60s and 70s, pretty much topped out at about 5%. In many of the products that, in the ways in which marijuana is used today, we have THC levels of over 90%, in some cases almost 99%. The comparison that someone made is, if you were trying to get caffeine into your body, right? Comparing the marijuana of the old days to the marijuana now is like the difference between drinking a 20-ounce Coke for your caffeine and drinking 33 grande cappuccinos from Starbucks. It's not the same. So when we talk about this as this natural, safe alternative, right, then we have to talk about the fact that there's a 1,375% increase in the number of emergency room visits for children who are being exposed to these edibles. A new CNN article that came out yesterday, a few days back, that said that daily marijuana smokers are 34% more likely to develop arteriosclerosis. Okay? Now, keep in mind that the number of daily marijuana smokers has increased tenfold since the 1990s. So when we start talking about it being not as hard a drug, or we talk about it being, not harmful, you talked about anxiety, but the reality is Dr. Nora Volkow, who heads up NIDA, talked about anxiety and marijuana and said, when we start taking a substance to deal with anxiety, and we take, let's say, marijuana, for example, we become dependent on that marijuana and lack the coping skills to deal with anxiety otherwise, making us more likely to become dependent on marijuana, making us more likely to become daily users. And marijuana users are 2 times more likely to go on to have opioid disorders. In the state of Colorado, which is, we all like to punch around Colorado, right? Everything the marijuana lobby told us turned out to be the opposite. They told us that, we're going to make tons and tons of money with marijuana. And that's really the only reason why people would really choose to legalize it, other than the lobbyists that just want to see people have access to it. Well, the most marijuana accounts for in the state revenue budgets of any state that has legalized marijuana is just over 1%. And it's costing over 4 times as to treat the consequences of marijuana, right? That's not really cost effective, right? Colorado is number 1 in the nation in car thefts. They're number 2 in the nation in property damage. They have over a 20% increase in homicides. They've moved up 7 places on the national list of overdoses of opioids. And we can blame fentanyl for these overdoses, but guess what? Every other state is dealing with fentanyl as well. So when we start talking about I agree with you, Ed. If you've got stage 4 cancer and, you can't eat and, you want marijuana and, who are we to stop you? If you're having 150 seizures a day, and marijuana is stopping you from having seizures, terrific, have at it. But the reality is marijuana is equally as likely, if not more likely, to trigger mental illness and impede our ability to cope with symptoms of stress and anxiety than it is to actually ultimately help. People are more likely to develop anxiety disorders when they're using marijuana in the first place. So let's go.
Definitely a medical place for it. Absolutely. I mean, we've been using Marinol for patients that need to gain weight I've been a nurse 36 years and I've been giving it for 36 years. So, we've been doing that to help patients with weight gain, certainly seizures, pain reduction, there is definitely a medical place for it now. Personally, I think that if you're going to claim to be sober, you need to be sober unless there's a true medical reason. And it is very easy to get a medical card nowadays for reasons that are not true reasons, but there's definitely a medical place for it.
Well, you know what? It's interesting. And you talked about anxiety. The state of Pennsylvania is one of the only states in the country that legalized marijuana for a standalone anxiety disorder. You know what they came to find? that there are more people with an anxiety disorder
Yeah,
in Pennsylvania than any other state in the country. What do you think? It's because we are offering marijuana, or because there's just more anxiety in Pennsylvania?
Well, that's where we should just legalize it. Just legalize it and make it happen across the board, so we can watch. Not so we can watch it, but so we can kind of monitor it. Let's talk about alcohol, guys. Alcohol is way worse than marijuana. I mean, just by me doing some research in the years, when I smoked, I used to smoke pot when I was out there once in a while. I didn't like it, but I can honestly tell you, when I smoked pot, I never punched anybody in the face. I never, got loud with anybody. I never got angry. The worst thing I might have done was tackle a bag of Doritos way back when, so that's number one, so, and on the body wise, alcohol just destroys your body, completely destroys your body. If anything should be illegal, it should be alcohol. If we're going to want to talk about, things that shouldn't be legal, that's number one. Number two, the other alternative to, the anxiety is benzos. Benzos are not good at all. I mean, let's be serious.
Benzos to withdraw from.
Yeah. I mean, if you're taking benzos, you as a nurse, you can't stop taking those.
No, alcohol and benzos, you die from that withdrawal, very easily, I think alcohol is, and they use medication assisted therapy for alcohol, naltrexone, but again, it's a pill you take every day, and people, they don't see an immediate effect and they go off of it. But there is an naltrexone implant that you can get that lasts for 3 to 6 months, depending on your metabolism. And it's like a little baby egg you put inside, and it's an implant, I think that for alcohol, the medication assisted treatment is underused. Personally, that's my personal opinion.
I agree. I agree with you, Bambi. I think that, seeing MAT in the state of New Jersey is very widely used. What's the shot? We were just talking about it before. Vivitrol is used on every single patient is offered Vivitrol when they, after they're detoxed. I think it's 3 to 5 days after full detox, they're offered the shot. And we've watched miracles happen from that. I think that Suboxone is an appropriate MAT form, anywhere between 9 and 12 milligrams a day, anything over that. And obviously that's dependent on body weight and all of that stuff, which is more Bambi's kind of place. But, these are all really wonderful MAT, but MAT is not harm reduction. Harm reduction, and I think we kind of got off track here, is that if somebody's doing 20 bags a day of heroin and they decide that smoking pot every day is a good remedy for that, that's recovery. That is the definition of harm reduction. Doing something that is less harmful. Does marijuana cause anxiety and paranoia? Yeah, absolutely. And given to a chronic alcoholic or a chronic drug addict, yes, they're going to chronically use it. But harm reduction is really looking at each individual, meeting them where they're at, not dragging them to something that we think they should be at, but offering them support, no stigma, and some normalization to doing their best in that moment, and allowing them the space and grace to come to their own awakening, right? Yeah. So it's like when you talk about harm reduction and then you start to classify what is and what isn't, that's not harm reduction anymore. That's what I want for somebody to be doing instead of.
And that's how we started off with, it's not what I want, it's what somebody else wants. Right. And that brings us back to Sober at Home, Dave. All this stuff, and this is a fascinating subject, and all that stuff. And
I love the dialogue.
And we're gonna have to wrap it up here in a minute, but. So everything we just talked about, is Sober at Home okay with that, as long as they're moving forward and getting the help, like Beth said, meet them where they're at? Is that what you guys do? You meet them at where we're at and not leave them there. I like that. I love hearing that. Don't leave them there. And that's what sounds like what you guys are doing at Sober at Home.
Yeah. Our goal, again, going back to the core of who we are, right? And that is helping people restore meaningful and purposeful lives.
Yeah.
And, if, you are there's a difference between, I was using heroin every day and now I'm smoking marijuana and I'm living in my parents' basement at 38 years old and I don't have a life. Then, I would disagree and I would say that's not really recovery.
No.
What is recovery? It's biological, it's physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's having meaningful relationships, it's returning to the workforce, it's having money in your pocket. So, we want to help people restore those types of lives. And, and Beth, can I push back on you just a little bit?
Absolutely.
You seem, I don't want to pretend to know you or your family circumstances, but, if you found out your mom had cancer and, and the doctor said, there's great news. We've caught this and we can cure this, radiation and surgery and your mom is likely to be cancer free. And your mom says, yeah, what can you help me to do to just be more comfortable?
That's her choice.
And
100%. Like, I see exactly where you're going with this.
And
it's her choice.
And I appreciate your perspective on that, but I can say that the vast majority of people in my experience would say, Mom, you're getting that, surgery. We want to have you.
My mom would get the surgery.
Your mom would get the surgery.
Absolutely.
Can you hold her down?
Yeah.
But if that had
the
been
reality,
enough,
100%. But the reality is that nobody else is angry with the cancer person who has cancer. Whereas and this is my point, when you're talking about substance use disorder, by the time they're reaching out for help, they've already burned every single bridge. And the only reason that they can find and muster up the courage to ask for help, even with the harm reduction model, is that they've literally tried everything else, right? They've burned every means of human aid, and are left in a lurch. So when we look at harm reduction and they're only smoking pot and they're living in their father's, basement and they don't have any relationships, that's called a beginning. And if at what time they choose to say this isn't enough for me, then they are responsible, right? We are each responsible once we turn, whenever you think a person turns as an adult, you know what I mean? Like whatever, 13, 18, 25, all very valid, means of becoming an adult, depends on who you are. You're responsible for your entire life. And my experience in working with substance use disorder for many years is that when you shove something down somebody with substance use disorder's throat, they immediately reject it. So my experience with following and reading the studies from abroad in countries that have completely legalized drugs and have completely taken a completely different turn on the entire pandemic than we have, what was found is that when we break down stigma, when we break down lack of communication, when we help people find purpose, they want to stop using.
So can I make one more point, Ed, before you move on?
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Because we do have an example right here in the United States, and it's the state of Oregon. And in the state of Oregon, what they've done is they decriminalize heroin, they decriminalize methamphetamine. And what they've done is they said, what we're going to do is we're going to put more money into treatment. And so the idea being that if we make these drugs more accessible, there are going to be more people that are going to be in need of treatment. What they found was the opposite. They had more people using these substances. They had increases in overdoses, and they had, even though they put money aside for it, they had less people that were actually reaching out for treatment and help.
Well, let's be serious.
Right, but you're taking one state, an entire culture, in a country of 300 million people that are saying they're dirtbags.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be reaching out for treatment and I'd be trying to continue to. If you gave me a culture that said I was a drugs, I'd overdose in about 5 minutes.
And so I really admire and appreciate the passion and compassion of people that are involved in the harm reduction movement. I mean, it really started back in the 80s with AIDS. But I think we have gone, and I'm not saying you're doing this, Beth, but we've gone to a place where people that are working towards helping people get sober and that really set sobriety as that goal. Now, we almost are being stigmatized by a lot of people and saying, we lack compassion. We lack understanding for where people are at. And I think there's room in the tent for everybody.
I agree. I mean, I've been abstinent for a long time, so I understand the abstinence rule. And I actually took a course, the CPRS or whatever it is. I totally did not. I was not on board with harm reduction until I actually sat in a room of professionals that talked about the benefits. And I think that as we move into or through, right, we've been doing this for a long time. Opiates, when I got sober, there were no opiates around. They didn't exist. And you could go out. We would tell newcomers, if you're not happy here, go out and drink. Go hit your bottom and come back. And that was my philosophy. Like, you're going to do what you're going to do when you're ready. And I'm not going to deal with this until you're ready. And I've watched too many people that I've worked with. Only a few of them I knew personally, but a lot of people that I've worked with, that they went out one night, they had a bag, it was a bad bag, and now they're dead. There's just no coming back from that.
Well, the problem
that's
is
what sold me on any form of harm reduction was the landscape that we now live in. Sometimes you don't get a shot after tonight. Like, tonight's your last shot.
That's it. The last time put it in your arm. That's the the thought on I was going to say harm reduction. That's the thought on this disease, right? This disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful, right? That cancer, I would jump on it for my mom in a heartbeat. But do you know how many times I get a phone call from a parent saying he's using, he doesn't want help? Like that is a disease still, and we're not wrapping our heads around it and understanding that these people, and me included, all those years ago, we don't have control once we're in our addiction. When we can break out of it, when we can snap out of it, and you probably see this, Dave, at Sober at Home, we have that moment of clarity where somebody can grab us and pull us out of that addiction for a moment and put us somewhere safe for that moment. And then we can kick and fight and scream in that safe place, but it's a safe place. And then we can relax a little bit, 30 days later, I might be able to do this, right? Sober at Home, I might be able to do this, follow through. Now I'm at Sober at Home, 60 days later, I could do this, 10 years later, I'm doing it. 20 years later, I'm doing it, because Sober at Home, because somebody understood. But majority of the people out there, exactly what Beth said, and this is just my opinion, think that people with a drug or alcohol problem, no, I shouldn't even say drug or alcohol problem, with a drug problem is a dirtbag. Now, I know we said we're going to close, but you got me going. I'm sorry. Let's take a liquor store, right? The sales executive goes in, he makes $200,000 a year. He buys his fancy bottle of whatever the fuck you drink and you'll get fucked up on. You go home, drink it, and you beat the shit out of your wife. He gets dressed back up in the morning, puts his tie on, has a hangover, pops a couple fucking Advil, maybe a Benz on the way to work. Hey, Mr. Jones, great sales job. Oh yeah, that guy's the outstanding citizen, blah, blah, blah. Goes back home, beats the shit out of his wife, drinks again. That man is just as bad as the person that's stealing from everybody else. He has no control over because of the addiction. Just because it happens behind closed doors and he's wearing a suit and tie and he drives a BMW doesn't mean that he's not exempt from this. And that's kind of where I think this is going. And I think we have to recognize this as a disease. And I like that your company is kind of doing this and kind of pulling people and saying, it's okay to be like this. Let's pull you in. Let's get that grip a little bit loose, until it's free. And if you want to go back gripping again, like Beth said, try it. Right. But how long can you hold this? How long can you hold this for, right? Until you either need relief or you can't do it anymore and you're going to die. That would be my thought on all that. And Dave, thank you so much for everything you're doing out there. Can you give the audience kind of how we can get a hold of you and how we can enroll in your program and all that stuff?
Sure. So, we are on all social media platforms. You can reach us at soberathomeinc.com. That's soberathomeinc.com, or you can call us at 855-52-SOBER. And, we have people that are ready to answer the call. And we fundamentally believe in every single person's capacity to change. So, if you'd like more information, please visit our website, soberathomeinc.com. Call us 855-52-SOBER. We're on all social media platforms. Look for the blogs that I write. They can be a little edgy.
They're great blogs, great website. It's well put together, as far as all that goes, and just just another look at how we can stay sober again. That's what we do here. We want to make sure that we have all this, from sober at home to detoxes to interventionists to whatever it is, that we get this chance to help everybody, like you said, Beth and Dave, from all walks of life, from every part of it, even the medical side of it, like Bambi was speaking earlier. We want people to get help, through this when they can and how they can, if that makes sense to everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, great show. Dave, thank you for being a guest on here. I love controversy. I love getting shit stirred up. I love sides pushing back. I love it all because you know what? Everybody's opinion counts, and everybody has an opinion, and everybody needs to kind of voice that. And, Dave, I think, what you're doing is amazing out there, and keep up the great work. Please, guys, give Dave a call. If you're struggling with any problems, they're there for you guys. And as you can hear, they're open to just about anything, and they're going to help you get, like Dave said, on the right path, whatever that path might look like. So that's it for the show. Dave, thank you so much. And
thanks for having me.
Stay sober, everybody.
Thanks, David.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.